Hi, my name is Maggie Vallette, and this is my assignment for Module 5. So who are we? The Shawnee Mission School District is the district that I teach in. We have over 27,000 students. 35% of students are on free and reduced lunches, 10% are English language learners, and 9% are students with disabilities. The school that I teach at, Rising Star Elementary, comparatively, we have 500 students, 51% on free and reduced lunch, 18% are English language learners, and 8.87% of our students with disabilities. Our staff is made of 23 classroom teachers and then 4 specialist teachers, as well as a lot of extra support teachers. Looking at some of the graphs, it was interesting to see the economically disadvantaged graph because we did change boundary lines a couple of years ago, and so that was interesting to see that how that affected our free and reduced lunch population. Another piece of information about our district, we have 93.8% attendance rate for the year 2018, and comparatively Rising Star was at 94.6%, which is right on par with the state average, or with the state attendance percentage. However, one thing that I did notice, that there was a slight decrease from the year before, and I'm curious if that had anything to do with the changing boundary lines. How we do business at Rising Star. We have weekly PLC meetings, weekly staff professional development, bi-weekly building leadership team meetings. There's PTA meetings once a month, family engagement nights. We have 4 over the course of the whole school year, and we have data meetings once a semester. Where are we now? So one of the things that I had talked about in Module 3 was about the attendance rates. And so the attendance rates of Rising Star are higher than the district average, despite the changing boundary lines. However, as mentioned earlier, there was a slight decrease at Rising Star, the percentage from the year prior. Our math and reading scores are below the district average. So on the side are the different percentages of the state assessments for Rising Star Elementary and the Shawnee Mission School District, and more of our students scored at the level 1 or the level 2 compared to the district. We are one of the few schools that are working with priority standards, and we will be in the next couple of years be doing a standards-based grade book, and so we're working on grading based on a priority scale that is connected to our priority standards. Why do we exist? So 2 years ago, our school went through a complete change, and staff within the school had to reapply for their job if they wanted to stay, but there were a lot of new teachers that came in, and so we had all of these different initiatives that the district was setting forth for our school because we were low performing, and so we sat together as a staff, and it was a fairly new staff, people that had not taught at that school before, and we made our collective commitments together as a staff. So where do we want to be? So this past year, at the end of the year, we talked a lot about using a teaching and learning cycle with all of our units. So by using a teaching and learning cycle, we're able to evaluate student success. We also want to create and use common assessments that are related to our priority standards, so we can see whether or not students are performing on par. We want students scoring at least a level 3 on our priority scale, and then we are hoping that by using this type of teaching and learning, we are able to perform more on par with the school district. So where are the gaps? One of the things that was interesting to me was that even though our attendance percentage is above this district percentage, we still were scoring below the district with our state assessment. So I found that interesting because when students are at school, they're learning more, and they are usually able to do better, and so there needs to be something within the school that needs to change. We do have a somewhat transient population. This past year I had 5 students that were in and out of my classroom, moving to different areas, so there isn't a whole lot of consistency within the school or students that stay their entire elementary career. We do have quite a bit of behavior at our school as well, and so that could play into how students score on their district assessments. how do we get where we want to be? So in order to get where we want to be with the district and scoring on par with them on state assessments, we need to collaborate with our team when planning and creating assessments. So this could be done during PLC time, after school, before school. We also need to track data to gauge student learning. So in order for us to see if our teaching is helping our students, we need to track data to see if our students are learning. We need more professional development around the teaching and learning cycle and what that looks like in that reflective process. We need to know what warrants a level 3 or a level 4 on the priority scale, and we need to have a plan for tier 3 or tier 2 intervention. So when students are not performing at level 3 or 4, what are they doing? What are we doing to help get them there? So how will we implement this? So in order to implement this, we need to evaluate our teaching strategies. We need to create common assessments, administer those common assessments, compare pre and post assessments during the teaching and learning cycle to evaluate our teaching strategies. We need to look at our results, evaluate our results, and then we also need, when we see students that are below where we want them to be on the priority scale, we need to implement tier 3 or tier 2 interventions in order to get them there. How will we evaluate our efforts? So in the end, we will look at our results. So that's super important, and we need to look at the priority scale, and we have started looking at our priority standards and making more specific bullet points on, or more characteristics on, what a level 3 or 4 looks like on that priority scale. And so we need, after our teaching and learning cycle, we need to evaluate our data and decide whether our students are at a level 3 or 4. We also need to review our building goals during staff meetings and make sure that we are on track and on par for staying with those building goals. And we need to have continual conversations and collaboration during our PLC time to plan, evaluate, and change our teaching and learning in order to help students get to where they need to be.